Hey guys, today my guest is Matt Van Horn, the mind behind the last 30 days skill, and printing press, which turns any website into something that an agent can actually use. And of course, Matt is an encoder. Let's go. Matt, you've been vocal that nobody is prompting anymore, and everyone is using loops. So could you give an example or tell us how does a real production grade agent loop look like in your particular workflow compared to traditional prompting?
So I still prompt a lot. I think it's important to open with that.
Okay.
That was so I wrote an article that was based off of what Peter Steinberger and Boris were saying. And Peter out of nowhere was like, I don't even prompt anymore. I only do loops. And then everyone's like, what the hell is a loop? And so I ended up writing a post about it that got 3.4 million views called WTF is a loop. And my part one, the one that went viral, was okay. My part two is actually a good one. The part two is actually the good one, the one that didn't go as viral. But so, what
I read both,
think,
by the way.
thank you. And so I think for a lot of people, for normies that don't live in Peter and Boris land, which, I'm somewhere between a normie and that. But I think it's you just use goal. Just use /goal in Claude Code, use /goal in Codex, and work your way towards an agent not giving up. I think one of the things that I actually had spent a lot of time building pre the gold command was my own systems and skills that I haven't shipped that are very, very good at not letting the agent be lazy. It always writes a plan, always goes to the next thing, did it fulfill the plan before it moves to the next thing. And so for me, I'd been doing this looping thing without even knowing what it was called for a while to do certain tasks while I sleep. So there's a certain skill that I run that's related to open source contribution called Night Night. I don't know if that reference translates to Dubai and Russian, but there's a basketball player here named Steph Curry in the US, and whenever he puts the team to bed, goes night night. So that's my night night skill. And so this is a autonomous open source contribution tool that I've built for myself that allows me to find interesting projects either that I've contributed to before or not, and to contribute to them. And so I've been running this loop before loops were a thing, or this goal for many, many months. And so I'd say that's the most important one in my workflow. But there are certain times when I want to, like, I remember the day that I got access to Fable 5 for the first time, and I was like, all right, I'm going to pick a meaty goal, a project that I haven't announced this project, so I can't talk about it. But I was like, I have done nothing on this thing, on this project. Like /goal, make a plan, go. And it did a shockingly good job. And then Fable 5 was taken away. I was like, wait, no. But then I looked at it, I was like, oh, but it kind of built it already. That was pretty good.
Did you try it after it got back?
Of course, I've hit my limits every day and spent way too much on.
Do you feel it the same, or do you feel it the same or nerfed a little bit?
I don't know if it's nerf. I mean, it self nerfs. Like I'll literally be running something that doesn't feel controversial. It's like, oh, you triggered a flag here. Sorry, now I'm gonna run Opus. So I don't know, and especially because the new Codex model just came out and it's really good. That like it doesn't feel as
100%.
magical as it did that first week, and it probably is as magical. But it's a bit of psychology here, so I'm not sure.
For me, the only problem is the limits, to be honest, and the budget of Fable 5. But I personally run it as the first foundational to build something like the foundation, and then I just go with smaller models, with less intelligent models. So Matt, you've mentioned that you first build a skill. That's actually from your article. So you need a skill for the loop to be really like, not just for the sake to be a loop, but to really be efficient, right? So can you give an example of maybe a workflow that you've been prompting before, and then you build a skill, build a loop on top of it, and now you're saying like, oh, thanks God I came out with loops, and I don't have to be prompting this anymore.
Yeah, so I'm not going to use the word loops. I know it's trendy and cool. I'm just going to describe skills, even though that's that's weird, and maybe I'm not trendy and cool anymore. But like I'll give an example is so I have this product that I made called Last 30 Days, which is very good at doing social search on particular topics. And when I'm publishing content like the loops article, what I do is I run like 4 or 5 last 30 days prompts. So it's like last 30 days Peter Steinberger, last 30 days Peter Steinberger loops, last 30 days Boris loops, last 30 days loops, last 30 days AI loops, right? It's kind of like just do that manually, and then I bring all that together, and then I would have my agent put it together into an article. I'd feed it previous articles that I've done, um, and and so what's cool is whenever I've done something that feels very manual, I think I say, okay, how can I turn this into a private personal skill for myself? And so for that one related to articles that I create, it's like, okay, how could I say, so after the article's done, it's like, okay, we just published it. And I'll say to my agent, and I use compound engineering, I'll say CE plan, that was a painful process. Like this article took way too much going back and forth. Like, what are the key learnings that we've had from here? And how can I automate this? And how can I update my article skill that I've made for myself so that this becomes a lot more seamless, a lot more automated next time I run it? And so it's like, oh, well, here's what went wrong. Here's this. Oh, okay, I've now written a plan.md. Are you ready to proceed? And it's like, yes. And then the next time I write an article, then it goes again. And then maybe it'll go 75% better, 25% better. And then kind of I run this process over and over again. And what's cool is I published 2 articles yesterday, and I didn't manually run last 30 days on either of them, which was really neat. And that's the first time that's happened. So kind of the back and forth and the improving of my own skill has finally gotten to a point where it's kind of is able to predict the type of queries that I would do specific to a topic to be able to arm me with that before I get started on something.
As you've mentioned, last 30 days, Matt, I have two particular questions on that. Before I ask the second one, why do you think last 30 days resonated so much? Because, I mean, it really kind of, you know, there was a huge wave on GitHub. It was topping GitHub for a long time. So why do you think it really resonated with the builders and the community?
It's a good question because I accidentally built the slowest and most expensive search engine in the world. And what's interesting is there's a lot of value in that. And I built it for myself, was not trying to do anything with it other than make something for myself and said, hey, hope the open source community likes it. But what's really interesting is all the search engines, all of ChatGPT's defaults, they all optimize for speed. Everyone just wants to be Google. Google wants to be Google. Yep. ChatGPT wants to be Google. And so like one of the things that like I tell someone, like when I tell a normie, like when I'm setting up their ChatGPT for the first time, I'm like, make sure you turn on thinking. Like you don't want you want the slow. You don't want the fast Google competitor or default. Because like ChatGPT, they want a normie to be like, oh, this is fast like Google, right? But like LLMs are awesome when they do research, when they go deeper, when they go look at what's happening in the world. And so I think the reason that last 30 days worked is that everyone's trying to do the opposite. They're trying to make something that's really fast so it can compete with Google. And for me, I was like, no, I want a lot of sources. I want a lot of thoughtfulness. I want to pull in all these things. And because all these networks don't talk to each other, YouTube doesn't talk to TikTok, doesn't talk to X, doesn't talk to everyone, Grok versus Gemini versus ChatGPT, and who has the license rights to Reddit. Like by plugging in your API keys or using your cookies, you can pull all this together in a way that's never been done before. Like I've never seen TikTok signal anywhere but last 30 days. That's literally the only place I've ever seen it. Some of the best content on last 30 days is from freaking TikTok. Yeah. I don't know why no one thinks about this or talks about this. I've never even heard anyone talk about how
people think TikTok is for, I don't know, for stupid people or something like that. That's what I've heard from many people from my network, at least. Like, TikTok is for stupid people. I'm like, why?
Totally. And then another one of the most magical things is like the top comments are always so good on Reddit. Like they're famously good on Reddit. They're really good on YouTube. They're really good on TikTok too. And so like pulling in those top comments and sucking that into the last 30 days search result is like really valuable. And so I think because I built the slowest, most expensive search engine in the world, it actually creates value that people have never seen before because everyone else is just trying to compete on speed.
Before we started talking about the last 30 days, you said that you were doing an article and it took a lot of time for you to more time than you expected to create that with AI. That's at least that's what I understood, right? So when creating a skill, it's the same, right? So you have to spend a lot of time. So what do you think? What's this so specific and so cool in the design of last 30 day skill that make it so efficient and cool for builders? So what's that recipe in that skill, in your opinion?
I have no idea. It's probably super bloated and needs to be needs to be pulled down, but it's working great and people love it. But I think so. I'm not sure related to last 30 days, but I can say from my own skills that my favorite skill outside of last 30 days and printing press related skills is a project called compound engineering, and I use that as a baseline for pretty much all my building. But when I'm making a skill for myself, so not last 30 days, but just like a skill for myself, I always and highly recommend saying like, hey, I'm gonna make, a custom mat skill. Please don't just make a custom mat skill from scratch. Go study what's so thoughtful about compound engineering skill, and then use that as a baseline to build the mat skill. And so, because compound engineering is open source, because it's very thoughtfully done by Trevin and Kieran, like it's a really great baseline for anyone creating their own skills for themselves to kind of use that as the inspiration.
There is two things that that really want to ask you. One of them is about printing press. Now it sounds pretty obvious. Create a agent native CLI for almost any website. Instead of traditional browser control. Now, when everyone is saying build internet for agents, that sounds obvious. But how did you come up with that idea? Because even like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months ago, that was not obvious. It was all just, starting. So what was behind that idea and how did you come up with that?
Sure, because I'm a madman and a sociopath, I just wake up Sunday mornings and decide that I want to build things from scratch. And one of those Sunday mornings, and I have a lot of kids, 4 kids, and so it's often within the chaos of those mornings that I'll use my send a voice note to Claude Code to kick off a CE plan. And the CE plan that morning was I want to start a programming language from scratch designed for agents. And I was like, look at all the work Peter Steinberger's doing here. Like, what would be the most efficient thing that I could do to like make a new programming language from scratch? Because that sounds awesome. And agents need that, right? And after a lot of back and forth, and usually Claude Code's like, that's such a good idea. Let's do it. It actually said the opposite. It was like, this is a terrible idea. You should not do this under any circumstance, Matt. And I was like, okay, but it's Sunday morning. I want to build something. Like, let's jam back and forth. And then I was like, okay, but what is Peter doing with all these CLIs? Like, I strongly believe that CLIs are better than MCPs. I'm always logged out of my MCP servers. They always suck. Like, and then that kind of the aha moment in my brain went off in that conversation. I was like, what if you could make a CLI and an agent skill out of any web page, out of any app? Out of anything, could that be done? And then suddenly, a few days later, had a working version with actual working versions of the printing press. And then from there, I'd met Trevin, who's #1 on compound engineering, and we had lunch, uh, just meeting because I liked compound engineering and he liked last 30 days. We were both just agentic nerds living in the Seattle area. And I sent him an X message or the text message after we had lunch. I was like, hey, I built this thing. Do you want to like check it out, add some PRs, maybe? And then from there, he made the printing press actually great. Like what I made, like maybe could have been shippable, maybe. But he actually made it really, really good and started building that together. And then it turned into this beast of a project. I was like, hey, I want to ship this Thursday. It was like Monday. And then like Wednesday, he's like, could we at least wait till Sunday? And we didn't ship it for like another 45 days because
Yeah.
it got a lot more serious and intense and awesome.
And Trevin he has a engineering and like developer background, right? So he's a
So So what's funny is yes and no. So he studied computer science, but he actually has never worked professionally as a software engineer his entire life. He was a PM at Microsoft. He was a chief product officer when I met him. And so it's I think that there's a lot of people where their talents as individual contributors have been unlocked by agentic engineering. I know it's certainly true for me. It's certainly true for him. And so there's a lot of builders who could never build before that suddenly are shipping things of value.
Oh, I mean, I'm not a coder at all, and we've built so many things with the team for the last 2 months that I don't know. We would have never built it without agents. So I don't know. Even today, we build a whole system for our own system, and it's not we built. We just told Claude Code to build it, and it has built it in 9 hours. A system for basically creating AI videos. It's a whole system where, like a board where the whole team is working now. I guess it took like 9 hours or something. Anyways, it's not about us. So as a non-coder, yeah, I mean, and it's just a prompt. Anyways, as a non-coder, you've been vocal that you're a non-coder, and you're shipping things that actually are praised by the open source developer community. So what have been, the hardest parts of building and most importantly, maintaining this sophisticated agent systems for you as a non-technical founder? What were the hardest? What are the hardest parts of doing that?
Sure. I mean, it's very easy to break things. I remember back in January when I shipped last 30 days and the launch video got 1 million views, and that was crazy. People started submitting PRs, and I'm like, how do I know if this PR is any good? And one of my friends, Matt, submitted one, and it seemed to be good. It like added it to the skill library. I was like, okay, that seems good, except. And then someone submitted something else like, oh, add this thing that fixes this bug. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, great, wow, open source is fun. And then I ran it, and it just completely broke. Like completely broke. Like one of those PRs I accepted just ruined everything. Like last 30 days ceased to exist. And so I was like, revert. It's very important to not just say yes to everything and to build systems for yourself so that you don't break everything. And so competent engineering has a great skill that kind of, I can say, okay, review all these PRs and tell me what's controversial, what should I test, what shouldn't I, what seems safe to merge, and being able to kind of do that. Like I now have systems for myself, but so kind of being able to lean on those systems to not do something stupid like I did initially is very, 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 very good.
So how do you cope with it now? Do you kind of you have a skill that you're running through all of the PRs that you receive, or how do you do that?
Yeah, so I built myself a PR review skill at some point, but then I think I forgot about it. I do that sometimes where I like build something and then I forget about it. And then I just go back to my old ways. I'm like, yeah, compound engineering would be fine for this. So I think I'm actually just lean on compound engineering to review the last 30 days skills right now, which is great. So I ran it last night and approved a bunch. So if you did good work, thank you. I added like 16 things last night from the community.
Perfect. So agents are doing it for you right now with a great skill. So cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess we're running short on time, so I have a few questions, but I guess we better go straight into Blitz, if you don't mind.
Sure. Blitz. That means let's do it. Blitz me.
Just quick questions, and you say yes or no, or just, if you want to answer, if you want to give a long answer, it's up to you. But usually it's short answers, but it's up to you. So Claude Code or Codex for most tasks, or maybe something else?
I live in Claude Code, but Codex does most of my coding.
Non-coder label, it's a badge of honor or something you're already tired of?
Unclear. I lived my career in Silicon Valley. It was a big negative that I was a non-software engineer my entire career. And now I'm shipping things of value, which is crazy. But I don't know the answer to that, if it's a badge of honor or not. But it's wild that I'm able to ship things of value, and I'm extremely grateful.
I guess that is an answer. Yeah. Speed of shipping or long-term polish?
Depends on the use case. For my project, speed of shipping for sure, but polish matters. Like there was another time last 30 days where the formatting was broken. Like it just was like making up the formatting, and destroyed me. And I spent a lot of time polishing that, and it's in a good place now.
Hermes or OpenClaw?
I think I'd be happy equally with both. Right now, I'm running Hermes, but I've run OpenClaw previously. That's where I kind of got my teeth in that space. But I think I'd be happy with either. But I'm in Hermes right now because I just wanted to set up a clean build.
X or GitHub for finding ideas?
Ooh, definitely X. I've never found an idea on GitHub, I don't think. But the printing press does this really neat thing where it looks for community CLIs and projects. So like when we made the Domino's Pizza CLI, it went on GitHub and found a Python Domino's project that helped find the API endpoints when it built the Domino's skill for the printing press.
The best city to live in?
Ooh, I'd say San Francisco or Tokyo. Um,
Not
San
Seattle?
Francisco or Tokyo, I'd say. I'd say if you're an old man with 4 kids, Seattle is my favorite kid lifestyle place that I've lived so far.
And the last one, the best city to build in?
San Francisco.
Cool. Guys, that was Matt Van Horn. Thank you, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you.